and there's still a lot of influence of Cornwall on the cob. But being such a splendid chap, Wales must have shaped his ways, and no surprise we find his granddad lived here in Cathay. That's good to hear and makes our David honoured here today, the finest Cornwall Cymro since that Rico bloody Shay. David's dad, a legend too, was John, a Penrhyn winner, a big strong bloke who liked to eat his rugby foes for dinner. John wasn't the Wizard of Oz, it's true, but might have seemed to be. He lived in a very windy place with a dog and a Dorothy. But Cornwall isn't Kansas, and the pooch was not called Toto. No kidding, those Welsh roots meant the dog was christened Yanto. Dave's brother Andy, beachmate then, worked hard to be a vet, handling big, strong, sweaty animals like the athletes of Cardiff Met. His dad came up to Wales quite late in the search for greater knowledge by the early 60s here at Kincoid's Cardiff Training College, a place that's had more aliases than a crook with 1,000 names, but its honours board bears a host of stars of international fame. Its reputation is secure, Wales' sports academy, and though its staff are not all Taffs, they're good enough for me. Team Bath they saw off long ago, disappeared and left few traces. Our competition now, those dreadful Northumbria and Lugga places. So, Cardiff Training College was in 1972, when David Emling came to learn just as his dad had too. Yes, Grandad David, Rob and Darrell studied here as well. The Lynn the Leap and Full Bill Bell must have seemed like hell. But heaven dawned for David, hearing Everton's sister Beth. Came up to visit Snowy, but she found the cob instead. Now what she felt for David must have come as a surprise. Love at first sight, they said, but then she's always had bad eyes. And now for 40 years Beth's been his wife and his kid's mother. This girl from Pembrokeshire swapped one St David for another. For Dave. For Dave, top student 74 to 5 proved pretty wild. A groom, a graduate, a dad, first sight, first class, first child. And so it seemed that Dave and Beth were happy as could be, as Denver sang, "Just take my hand and say you'll follow me." She did, and that meant moving off to Brentwood. Wowie zowie, the only way was Essex, but 3 decades before Towie. Back to Cardiff, 78, at Llandaff, then South Glam, with 2 boys now, but David needs a master's, and so Dan. He's off up north, Leeds for 2 years to get that next degree. With Beth and boys down here, you're right, she sounds a saint to me. But all, of course, in that great cause which makes our David tick. And of course, he got distinction. Doesn't make you flippin' sick. Career here, now moving on. They live down in Llanedin. It's not pronounced like that in Welsh. There's Cardiff people's head in. After the Llandaff interview, he cycled to Kincoid because he had a lecture he couldn't just avoid. Sean Power, though, raced past him before he got too far.
Race you!
And did, but he was in a car. Dave has lots of talents, yes. The Lord has spoiled him rotten. Like a photographic memory, once seen, never forgotten. It's helped him overcome each challenge that this life has sent him, and for college he's maintained that critical momentum. As years went by, Dave's roles progressed. HOD, Dean, Director. His appetite for work and sport as strong as Hannibal Lecter. As well as rugby, Dave's done tramp and swimming and canoes. Once with Bucks, and with Touch Trust kept Cardiff in the news. He's also taken off his kit, for charity he swears, and shaved and shown a naked lip just twice in 40 years. Mr. December in the calendar, I hear that Dave was miffed. When women claimed they thought they got a tiny Christmas gift. David's been active with young teams for very many a year, but travelling's not always been his strongest point, I fear. One student team went down Penryn in the middle of the night. An angry school caretaker found a mass art room, clay fight. When Dave and Stuart Watkins coached the Llandaff junior teams, their weekly trips at Valley were not super smooth, it seemed. Dave's geography was dodgy, lots of parents discontented. A shame that this was long before the sat-nav was invented. An early trip to Cambridge too went almost off the rails, with frequent stops for pub crawls in the search for real ales. This wayward nature follows Dave into his golf as well. Who knows where that huge drive's gone? Can he find it? Anyhow. Admittedly, he hits it long. Your best would be his worst. But his players' partners are on the 8th, and Dave is near the 1st. Through feature large, as pals recall, Ben Hughes has had his say about a terrible traffic trip to Exeter one day. Dave swerves in late, Parks does the show, comes out, finds parking fees. He's used 2 spaces and he's parked at 55 degrees. After a while, Dave's mood relaxed. He wasn't quite as nasty. He's found a services to get a flat white and a pasty. At work, meanwhile, the college grew, and Dave played his big part. This place, whatever the change of names, has always claimed his heart. CTC, SGIHE, CIHE, UIC, now Cardiff Metropolitan. I wonder if that will stay. But through it all, the chance of David leaving was a no-go. As much a part of Kincoid as that constant Archer logo. To change that famous badge, says Dave, would be a total farce. In fact, some students think he's got it tattooed on his arm. He's loved his trips, his tours, his songs. He loves a glass of red, and more than once has taken the mic from college down to bed. Kincoid has got so big, from 72 with barely a kayak, to 2000 and now a crowded campus and with NIAC. So many fine performers in all sports, they came and went. Encouraged by this strong fair dean, his decisions never bent. Up early every morning, working out then in the gym, there'll always be a bit of Kincoid embedded within him. He's seen some colleagues come and go. They all tell us their tales about this cream of Cornish who's become the toast of Wales. They all agree that David is a pretty special sort, and he's been recognised for his huge service to Welsh sport. Bill Bell tells of the old days. Kincoid had no pool up top, so they used the Empire pool here by Dad John's Cobner style. He also tells a travel tale, at least unless he's lying, and says that on an Irish plane, Dave wasn't too keen on flying. On landing, they ran round the streets with troubles at their height, deciding that if asked, they'd be Catholics. All right. Dave's dissertation was on players' body composition, so the density tank was filmed to help him reach some firm decisions. Bill said he'd turn the taps off just to help not being smarmy, and then forgot, flooded the lab with a regular tsunami. Elaine Griffiths has just recovered from that Cambridge Real Ale crawl. Apparently can find no bad words to say of Dave at all. She underlines what others say when asked to play their part, that Mr. Cobner's always had each student's good at heart. Poor when they've been upgraded. We won't do this again, said Dave, so I don't give 2 hoots. I understand it's free, my boy. Come on, let's fill our boots. People focused, caring, clear, inspiring in full measure. Chris says Dave made getting up for work each day a pleasure. He says the 81 girls called Dave Magnum once or twice. But he wasn't like Tom Selleck, he was more like that Chalk Ice. Steve Williams, who's also taught both Daryl's wife and boy, found WRU squad fitness work with Dave a real joy. Keith Lyons, your Australian mate, he didn't find it hard to compare the career of Cobner with that of Steve Gerrard. Inspiring dedication to a single institution with serious hard work and some intuitive solutions. The Aussie penned there in his blog a marvellous polemic on David, the administrator, and the academic, who makes it seem as easy as just falling off a log, and that's because he is a truly expert pedagogue. Elaine goggled at his timetabling. Did it for fun, she said, amazed at how he carried so much info in one head. Finding someone who dislikes him, well, it really is futility, and Lyons says he shows a truly polymath ability. In fact, it seems that even though his career has been so long, very little he's touched has ever turned out Richard or Pete Tom. That line of Dean's has lengthened. There was Eric, Sid and Bill. Sean and Dave too did it well, and no doubt Richard will. Richard's known Dave, man and boy, a student, colleague, friend, and says so far at least he's not been driven round the bend. Despite a dissertation that was top of all no-brainers, contrast high-tech silver shadow dats with Adidas web trainers. Dave and Richard's favourite recreation now, of course, is to check out some of the world's best academic and golf courses. But I know their golf prowess wouldn't fill a first-class text. They won the first match that they played and came last in the next. They've lost his suitcase too, so had a new suit made in haste. The tailor gasped, the inches round his chest are twice his waist. He has the hugest biceps that I've ever seen, he said, and that body hair he has more on his chest than on his head. The number of times that Rich has brought him home is truly vast. When Dave was due home early, but arrived home at
quarter past.
One earlier visit, though, did not go quite so well when, golly, their new rug was properly christened by Richard's eldest, lovely Molly. Though Rich knows all about Kincoid, no sat-nav could be finer, God knows how Dave will get home now they're moving to Rubina. So, that's about enough. We better not go on too long. If we're not careful, David won't get time to sing a song. But soon he can devote himself to grandfatherly duties, with loving care for all his grandson and granddaughter beauties. Well, Dave, I guess HCW got you sorted in the end. He praises you as leader, and he's glad you are a friend. And because you innovate and are a clever legacy, you've built and left the college a terrific legacy. To sum up, Dave, we all agree the verdict is established, a first-class, really lovely man whose mission is accomplished.